Hi everyone, this is Board Games Bourbon and I'm Glenn Flaherty. And today we're filming our episode on the cell phone because why? The battery in my camera, even though I charged it overnight, is totally dead because that is how I do things in the studio. Now, before we get too far, I'm going to tell you about Roll Camera, which is a dice placement game. Endangered, which is a dice placement game, kind of like Forbidden Island in a way. And then a game that really surprised me, Villages of Valeria, which I'm loving. Okay, now, day drinking. Well, what are we day drinking today, you might say? Well, that would be Montelobos Mezcal. Now, unlike people who take issue with my description of Mezcal tasting like finely tanned leather boots, I like that flavor. So, the best Mezcal I ever had actually came from Oaxaca when I was on a trip there. It was amazing. I brought many bottles home and I drank them all, and I don't remember the name. And you can't get it outside of Oaxaca because they don't ship. But outside of that, I really enjoyed this one, Montelobos. I'll tell you, man, it just smells like leather. It smells like a horsehide saddle. So if you want that, try that. I really enjoy it. Okay, now about the games. I've been playing a lot of games, a lot of daily magic games and a lot of Grand Gamers Guild games, right? Because I'm helping both of them with social media stuff. And so I get a chance to play all their games, and I have to learn the games so I know what I'm talking about when I post about them. So that's how I ended up with this selection. It's also eating up all my time because I have a growing pile of I can't even say shelf of opportunity, a pile of opportunity because there's no shelf space anymore. Games waiting to be played. Three Sisters by Matt Riddle. It's a rondel roll and write, kind of like Fleet. I enjoyed that one a lot. A lot of ding ding ding. It's like a pinball machine. The ball goes around, boom, 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 and just hits everything. Terraforming Mars, Ares Expedition, the Amazon version with the double thick boards. I hear that's great. Waiting to get to it. Dune Imperium. Still haven't gotten to it in the box, but there's so many others. Barrage I haven't gotten to. Praga I haven't gotten to. What else is over here? Gugong. I haven't gotten to Gugong yet. Somewhere over here there's Alma Mater. Alma Mater over here. Oh my gosh. And I forgot I have Reavers. I have Reavers and Midgard. Dang, Mia, I got somebody I gotta get to. Okay, but let's talk about the ones I have in front of me. So, Roll Camera. This is a dice placement game on a board where you are trying to get victory points. And what you're going to do, there's different locations on the board that say like solve problems on set, build a set so you can stage a scene, place dice on the stage so you can get scenes filmed. Take those film cards, put them somewhere. The order they're in also give you victory points. You draw cards that give you little mitigations along the way and like little powers, but you have to pay to activate those too. And so there's a lot of decisions with your die. It plays one or more people and it's cooperative and you're all sharing the same die, which I think is very interesting. A lot of times in cooperative games, everybody has their own thing, but that's not the case here. And I think that's to its benefit. When you place the die in different locations, there's not a lot of mitigations about what you can do. You're just trying to do the best you can. So is it strategic, more tactical? And you're trying to solve things that say like problems, and problems will be like every time you build a set it requires one more die. So you're thinking, okay, do I solve this problem or do I build a set? Because I have to build the set in order to place dice, in order to film a scene, and I need a scene to complete the movie and get points. So there's a little bit of decision where you want to go. Like I said, not much dice mitigation. It's a pretty expensive price point to play cards from your hand, but it's very lighthearted. It has a theme that I'm really happy to see. I can see this playing as a good change pace game. So I'm going to play it more times. I've only played it twice so far, but so far, so good. Lighthearted fun. Endangered was the next game I played. Really surprised by this one. This one reminds me of Forbidden Island, if you've ever played that, which is essentially pandemic, okay? In it, there's a land that you are trying to preserve. You have animals. You're trying to help the population. So that means moving them around to avoid deforestation and things like this. You're trying to have them mate, stuff like that. But there's a really interesting dice mechanism in the game in a few different spots that I really enjoy. So essentially, what's going to happen is you're going to have cards and you have dice. You roll your dice and then you do things with your dice. You place your dice in each individual die in different locations to do things like move an animal, draw a card, stuff like this. You can't go to any spot twice. You get 4 die, okay? But other people can go to the same spots as you, but their die, they do have to pay a cost, and that the die has to be a higher number. So if you only have a 6 and you put it somewhere, you basically blocked off that power for people to use. And then when you're trying to get like populations to mate, every time there's more animals on the board, you need a roll in order to have the mate. And the more animals are, the higher that number has to be. So that's really cool, right? So growing your population isn't guaranteed. There's perils they face. You basically have to pull an event card every time. The event cards can kind of crescendo and really get out of control if you don't nip it in the bud. So you're deciding, okay, do I invest myself in population or doing these other actions to draw cards that might give me powers? Do I mitigate the events that are coming? And there's very limited rounds and there's very specific checkpoints. Now, this might be kind of like a band-aid on the game to make it work. Like when you play solo, you have to play every single round because it is possible to meet all your criteria early in the game. And the criteria to win is that there's going to be a bunch of UN ambassadors, which are essentially game-winning victory conditions. And they'll say things like, have this many animals on the board, have this much destruction, or lacking this much destruction. And you can invest to have this much money, and you can invest in these cards to lower the criteria. Okay, that's another thing you can do with your die, which I thought was really cool. But first you have to expose the criteria because you don't know it early on. So do I solve a crisis? Do I expose the winning criteria? What do I do? And there was a really interesting thing that occurred with the cards. This I hadn't seen before. I thought it was really clever. And that is when you draw cards, and cards are essentially powers, right? They might give you a one-time benefit or an ongoing benefit, but there's also the power of it not only benefiting you when you get a card, you can spend it to make it a general action for everyone to use. I thought that was so cool. And then again, everyone can place their die as long as it's getting higher in numbers. So that was a really cool aspect. I played it a bunch of times. I got cocky and thought I was going to win it, and I played a card a little harder than it needed to be. Totally lost. So yeah, player count, different rounds you have to win in. Really enjoyed it. The expansions are very cool too. And there's another expansion coming out called Monarch Butterflies. But the game that I played that really won me over this week, like wow, didn't see this coming. Villages of Valeria. Villages of Valeria is essentially, if you've heard of Furnace, which is a new game that just came out, and it was by the maker of, I think, Smartphone. And I had a preview copy of that, the one that was actually from Russia, that from Hobby World. That was a great game. And what occurs in it is you are auctioning and bidding on cards, and then you try to get your cards to synergize to have a certain amount of points. If you can think of Furnace, or you can think of San Juan, where you have cards, you put it down, there's follow actions. I have the strongest ability, you get the same ability, but not that strong. Build stuff, synergize cards. That kind of idea, which exists in San Juan and Furnace, exists in Villages of Valeria. And what you're doing in Villages of Valeria has its own unique twist. But what you're doing is, when you have cards, you can spend cards to generate resources, okay? You can also spend them to become buildings that give you powers or give you symbols. And when you have symbols, you can get people who give you points. And ultimately, you want points. But in order to build your cards, you need the resources. So you need to pay resources. But how do you pay the resources? When you build a card, you need to take a token, money, and you get money by discarding cards, right? I want to build this, I got to get rid of those cards. There's always this choice between building and getting rid of cards you need. And it's limited. The deck is limited, so time is running out with every action. And you need to pay. You take one of your tokens and you place it on a resource generating card. However, when you pay for resources, it doesn't just have to be on your tableau. It could be anybody's tableau. Meaning someone's investment in having a resource can actually benefit you when you try to build a building. However, if you do put a token on their board, that means now they have that token, meaning they have more money so that they have more coins to spend to build bigger things on their turn. It's really, really cool. I'm really enjoying that. So, okay, so those are the games of the week. Endangered, Roll Camera, and Valeria, Villages of Valeria, all winners. Winners indeed, especially Villages of Valeria. So, okay, so you have any questions about anything, let me know. Happy to answer. The weather, it's been snowing forever, is finally turning out here in the woods. Had to have some trees cut down. That was pretty cool watching them come down. Big, huge chestnut oaks, unfortunately. But they're a little bit too close to the house. And my goodness, you ever seen the movie The Money Pit? Wow, taking care of a house.